A lot is going on in the world. There's no doubt about that. And we'll be talking about that, including the global stock market falls as a new Trump tariffs loom. And definitely some folks are saying, like on CNN, why Trump's Liberation Day tariff transformation is so risky and everything like that. And Trump's crackdown on students with visas and green cards sets up a First Amendment showdown. So definitely ICE is on certain campuses, and ICE is giving a governor the cold shoulder over the tough students arrest and all along those lines in Massachusetts. And we're definitely finding out more about the college activists detained by federal agents. So there are some activists that are being detained in various parts of the country for their various activities in terms of activism and all along those lines. And at least two are dead as storms spawn tornadoes, hail, and massive power outages across central central United States, and all in that space. So at least two are dead as tornadoes warned severe storms, large hail pummel central U.S. So definitely that's folks that are talking about as well. And seems like Trump has forced elite institutions to bend to his will, and Trump is quickly working to concentrate power and muzzle critical voices. So definitely, the New York Times is saying that in the halls of power, Trump's demand force agonizing choices, and Trump is using the power of government to punish opponents. They're struggling to respond, and that's what CNN is saying, and all along those lines. So we'll see if folks agree with that or disagree with that. Matter of fact, I think we'll be talking about the popularity and the grade of Trump on the economic show and all along those lines. So it ought to be interesting to see what folks have to say as to how he's doing now that he's 3 months into the job and all along that kind of space. So we'll see whether folks think he's doing a good job or a bad job or what is happening in that particular case. As I was telling one of the founders of this network and everything, I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman yesterday while I was out and about, partially producing some of these shows, but also just being out and about and everything like that. Actually went to Devil's Pizzeria, which is a popular stop on the Duke University campus, and all along those lines. And while I was managing one of our shows, while grabbing some pasta and salad in that area, ran into a young gentleman or a gentleman in his, he's a little bit younger than Trump was and everything in that space. And he was telling me that if Trump had gone to the school that he was supposed to have gone to, which I think was Jamaican or one of those Jamaica Queens or something like that, he might have been a different type of a person. And all along those lines, but he was even saying that he did a census report. And when he was doing the census, and by the way, this apparently was a very integrated school that he was supposed to have gone to, but I think he went to a private school instead. But he was saying he did the census, and I even had the pleasure of knocking on the door of the house that the Trumps were staying at when Trump was a youngster, because they had not completed their census as of yet. So he had talked to, I believe it was Trump's mother, and got the census filled out and all along those lines. So that was just interesting hearing somebody that had direct contact with our president back when he was younger and all in that space. Now, getting back to the news, U.S. Bank Vice Chair Terry Dolan is believed to be among the victims of a deadly Minnesota plane crash. U.S. Bank says it believes its vice chair was on the plane that crashed in Minnesota. So we're still having these planes that are crashing left and right and all in that space. And a U.S. Bank executive piloted the plane that departed from Des Moines and crashed in Minnesota. So there are no surviving passengers, but the residents of the home at the Brooklyn Park area are apparently safe. And Elon Musk goes all in on Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Democrats hope it will mobilize their voters. So the Wisconsin Supreme Court vote is getting national attention, and it apparently is getting some millions from Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is handing out $1 million checks amid a super important Wisconsin judicial race. And it's definitely that is something that folks are paying attention to as well. And Trump says he's considering ways to serve as a third term as president. Apparently, Trump is not joking about a third term, though the Constitution says he can't serve. So Trump not joking about a third term, and that's definitely something that our people are talking about as well. And Trump criticized Putin and threatens adversaries with new tariffs as he barrels toward a April 2nd deadline. So Trump is apparently very angry with Putin over ceasefire negotiations, and the oil market is waiting to see if Trump's Russian oil tariff threat is a bluff or not a bluff. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. And Iran will deliver strong blow against U.S. if it attacks, Khamenei says. So Iran has rejected direct negotiations with the U.S. in response to Trump's letter. So definitely Iran's missiles are loaded onto launchers after the Trump threat. So we got that threat of war going on as well. And Republicans are looking to avert humiliation in a Florida special election. As a matter of fact, I was watching online, I think it was a YouTube report or a YouTube interview with the longtime Democratic strategist James Carville, and he was saying that that could be a serious test and all along those lines, but he is confident that the Democrats will do well in that particular race. But it is a competitive race for Mike Waltz's seat, and it is apparently is rattling the Republicans. So Trump and GOP scrambled to save two critical House vacancies. By the way, Carville was also just suggesting that the Democrats just kind of like roll over and don't do that much and everything in this particular space and let the Republican Party implode from within. That was kind of his strategy that he was implying might be a good strategy. Some people are saying that's a good idea. Others are thinking that's not a great idea. But we'll hear what our panelists have to say about that as well. And 400,000 are without power as the Midwest is battered by severe weather. So definitely that is something that seeing storms bring widespread freezing rain and leaving more than 900,000 without power in that particular area. And Catholic Charities are testing Wisconsin's unemployment payment system at a Supreme Court case. So Supreme Court to debate if states may tax Catholic charities and religiously affiliated groups. So we're going to see how this all plays out in the court system. And definitely, should I fire him? There's some conversation in the New York, including in the New York Times, about Trump's deliberation over the fate of Michael Waltz. And definitely, that's the whole thing with the Signal Gate and everything like that. So NSA warning, change your iPhone and Android message settings is something that they are arguing for people to do. And Greenland's new leader has a message for Trump. We do not belong to anyone. Greenland's prime minister says the U.S. will not get the island. And Danish leader, after Vance's Greenland trip, not how you speak to your close allies. So definitely even a former leader of Denmark in the Politico was saying, we have stood side by side with America for decades. So we'll see what folks have to say about that as well. Let me get to some of the world news, and then we'll bring in folks for their ideas of what's going on in the world as well. But there's definitely a lot taking place, and we're definitely glad to report on these different things that are going on. Marine Le Pen is barred from French presidential run after her embezzlement ruling. So France Le Pen has been sentenced to jail and banned from public office. So the far-right leader, Marine Le Pen, is banned from the 2027 presidential race, throwing French politics into disarray. And it looks like Le Pen will appeal the conviction against graft charges. And as Trump guts foreign aid, China and others lead Myanmar earthquake response. So definitely there is some response to that area, and there's definitely been some earthquake things going on in there. And Starmer is shocked by the lack of coordination between the police and border force and intelligence agencies on illegal migration, according to UK politics. So the migration issue is also an important issue in the UK as well. So UK Starmer's calls for coordinated fight against people smugglers. So definitely this whole notion of people smuggling is a very real thing. And a NATO plane tracks and dodges Russia in the Baltic Sea. So it looks like NATO is patrolling the seas for suspected Russian sabotage, and European officials are increasingly certain that the Baltic Sea cable breaks are accidental, not sabotage. And Israel again expands the Gaza war as Netanyahu vows he's changing the Middle East. The end game is unclear as ever. Israeli military orders evacuation of most of Gaza's southern city of Rafah. So Israel issues sweeping new evacuation orders for that particular area. And Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu is vowing to pressure Hamas after a ceasefire proposal. And the Red Cross outraged over killing of medics by Israeli forces in Gaza. So definitely bodies of missing aid workers were found in Gaza mass grave following that Israeli attack. And a missing U.S. soldier's vehicle was recovered from Lithuania swamp, but there's no word yet on that particular soldier's location and all along those lines. But the U.S. military working to recover a 70-ton vehicle from Lithuania swamp as 4 U.S. Army soldiers remain missing. And definitely it looks like the vehicle of the missing U.S. soldiers has been pulled from the swamp in Lithuania. So we'll find out more about that as that story continues to develop. And U.S. airstrikes pound Yemen overnight, killing at least 3, Houthi rebels say. And the U.S. hit dozens of Houthi targets in Yemen and all along those lines. And Netanyahu stuns Shin Bet and appoints ex-Navy Chief Sharvit as new head. So definitely there's some stuff going on in terms of politics there as well. And where Nick is at, there was an explosion at a Spanish mine that killed at least 5. 2 are dead and 4 missing in a Spanish mine accident. The blast in northern Spain injures at least 9 and traps several in a coal mine. So definitely that was something going on in that particular part of the world. And Turkish opposition leader calls for weekly rallies and deeper economic boycotts. So we've got parts of the world that have got all kinds of conflicts going on, including a German space rocket that explodes seconds into its test flight. Orbital rocket crashes seconds after takeoff in rare European spaceport launch. So it's a rare launch, and it ended in an explosion and all in that space. And Finnish president boosts ties with Trump in a surprise Florida visit. So Trump runs out of patience with Putin over the Ukraine ceasefire, according to the Finnish president, and Trump golfs with the Finland's president amid the icy relationship with EU. And definitely Zelensky was saying Putin couldn't care less about diplomacy as Russia steps up its attacks on Ukraine. And Trump says terrorists who attacked the beautiful Turnberry have been captured. So Donald Trump is labeling the alleged Turnberry vandals terrorists. And Trump calls vandals who targeted his Scottish golf course terrorists who should be punished. So he's saying he hopes the vandals who trashed his golf course are treated harshly. So that's something else we're seeing as well. And the world's youngest country fought for decades to govern itself, and now it's on the cusp of another civil war. And that is Sudan civil war escalates as South Sudan faces renewed threats of conflict. So definitely there's a lot going on in the Sudan and South Sudan region as well. And SNL had a cold open that saw a hapless Hedges, Vance, and Rubio joining a high schoolers group chat and everything like that. So Mikey Madison texts with government officials in SNL cold open spoof of the Signal group chat leak and everything like that. So lots going on in the world, and we'll bring in our folks and see what they've got to say about a number of these stories and everything like that. We've got Dr. Sharif coming out of Bangladesh. I've also got Rick Rosner with me as well, and it looks like Kimberly and Nick Palveda, 2 of the, there's Nick. We'll bring Nick in as well, and Kim might be joining us as well. But Kim's joining us as well. So we've got a lot of things going on in the world. Like I was telling Kim earlier, I did run into a gentleman that was talking about just the nature of rich and poor and all along those lines, because he was saying that he was living in, I think it was Westchester, New York, when he was a youngster, and he spent some time in North Carolina and has worked in various places. I think he's now living in Chapel Hill, and I ran into him at the food restaurant that I was at yesterday, and he was talking about his encounter with Trump and Trump's family over the census, which I mentioned earlier in this newscast. But he was also talking about running into a gentleman back in, I guess it was the 70s or the 80s, when he was a youngster that was had the pretenses of riches and all along those lines. But when he went into their house and everything, they had absolutely no furniture. So he was trying to figure out why somebody with a 6, 8, and a 10-year-old had no furniture and all along those lines. But they had nice cars outside, but they didn't have any furniture. So I guess this is one of them cases of folks that wanted to spend their money on outward appearance and all along those lines. What's your thoughts about that, Nick? Because he was just telling me that, and I was also thinking when I was in Boca Raton and saw that some of the students had nicer cars. They had, this was back in the late 80s, they had Jaguars, Benzes, and all the fancy cars of the day. They probably would have Teslas now and everything, but I thought it was the teacher's parking lot, but it was actually the student parking lot and everything, and that was in Boca Raton, which we know is in that rich area near West Palm and all along those lines. But I just wanted your take on some people that have pretenses of riches versus having actual riches.
They're called nouveau riche, Mark. So the thing is, when you see people that flash a lot of cash, that means they didn't grow up with money. Because if they do, they don't flash it. I mean, it's just the way it is. But there's a lot of nouveau riche in the United States, which means newly made millionaires. So they don't come from money. So they buy things like gold toilets, and they build big homes and palaces for themselves and drive fancy cars. Look at me, because this is the first time I've ever had money. However, old money doesn't tend to be that way. They're a lot more quiet because, frankly, they don't want to be disturbed by people. In other words, so the thing is, they've learned across generations is to keep a low profile. So what you're seeing is when you're seeing these all flash, no cash people, it is what it is. In other words, they want to impress people by driving Lamborghinis rather than driving Toyotas. Now, not all of them are like that. You'll notice Jeff Bezos, he drove a Honda for years, a Honda Accord.
Yeah, but he also made a giant spaceship shaped like a penis, like the rest of the spacefaring billionaires. So
people show off driving Teslas now because
right.
that's.
So, all right, let's talk. America's about to make a whole bunch of people worth $1 million. These are people that were worth 10 million, but the stock market's dropped. Well, because
part of the market drop.
April 2nd. That's called Trump's calling it Liberation Day, and he's going to free us from
our money
trade by imposing tariffs.
Yeah, those tariffs and everything. But Rick, the flip side of that is that apparently Elon Musk is walking around Wisconsin today, and he's handing out $1 million checks. I don't even know what $1 million check looks like and everything.
Okay, so
he wants to make people millionaires really quickly to influence an election.
They're spending, both sides have spent $86 million on the Wisconsin Supreme Court election that'll be held tomorrow. Of course, Musk's spending is much more of a bribe. $100 if you sign a petition that is designed to get you to vote for the Republican, and $1 million to some random lucky winners, except that one of the $1 million winners is the chairperson of a college Republican organization. So it makes you wonder exactly how random the prizes are.
Well, you see the building behind me has a for sale sign, and then all the people there actually are available for hire. So the thing is, if you pay, they play. It's kind of called Washington, D.C.
Well, speaking of Washington, D.C., I got a question because I mentioned to Kim in a pre-call that we had earlier today, planning for this show and trying to figure out what your schedule was like and everything, Nick, and everything in that space. But apparently there's a president that was an older president, Andrew Jackson, and everything, or was it Andrew Johnson? But he definitely planted some lovely trees and all along those lines. And Trump thinks that these trees are unsightly. So he just recently signed an executive order that at least one of those trees is going to disappear. And we were saying that maybe he's going to axe the tree, or he's going to somehow do it. But what are our thoughts around this newer executive order where he wants to cut down this tree that I guess he is finding unsightly? I think he's also making some other changes, and correct me if I'm wrong, and everything like that around the whole notion of the rose garden and everything like that. But apparently he doesn't like this tree because he says it's unsightly and might have some diseases. And there are rumors that he planted it, I believe, for his wife and everything like that. So
it was planted by Andrew Jackson.
Right.
200 years ago. And it's old for a magnolia tree. And magnolia trees they're nice. We have one in our backyard. They have unusual foliage. They have big, giant white flowers,
right,
and big rubbery leaves. And Trump is not exactly the king in knowing what's attractive and what's not. As far as decor goes.
A lot of people don't know this, but you can pickle those pickle the flowers and eat them. I learned this a couple of years ago. Those and the pink ones, the pink trees that bloom as well. But Mark and I were talking about this, and I said, fine, give him an axe and let him behave like, what's his name? Abe Lincoln, and chop down that tree and say, I won't tell a lie. I won't tell a lie.
That was George Washington, but I'm afraid
George Washington.
I'm looking at a picture of the magnolia tree, and it looks just like a regular frickin' magnolia. I
They're
think
beautiful evergreens. They're evergreens. Their leaves don't fall all over the place. They're beautiful. Their foliage is gorgeous and smell so good.
but
If you're
I mean, this tree is 195 years old, and
he doesn't appreciate beauty.
over time, sometimes you get limbs that need to be the quit sprouting leaves, and you need to prune them. You don't need to cut down the whole tree. I don't know. It's just one more instance where he's just kind of a jackass.
Well, yeah, but I
Done
think
cut
we
down.
just let him chop it down and give him an axe and then make him promise not to tell a lie. But
Make him
you know,
promise
I
not to tell a lie
I
and
think
everything.
that everything that he wants to cut and destroy is just him, being everything that the MAGAs need to see. They need to see change. They are the kind of people that they want to see something happening. They don't have the patience to wait and see that, good things can come from things. You don't have to destroy everything in your wake. But
You don't have to get that
a
and
lot of
everything.
what he's about is taking companies and chopping them up and destroying them, and then there's nothing left. You file bankruptcy. But
Well, I was
but
just
he's
curious really quickly because we've got Dr. Sharif with us who's been joining it more recently, and that's a good thing that we've got him joining from Bangladesh. But what is the perception of Trump in Bangladesh? You have students, and some of your students are young students and everything, but what is their perception of Trump now that he's been in office for a second term and this time for 3 months? Are the students fans of his, or are the students worried about his administration? What are your students' thoughts around our current president and our current American politics?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to give you thanks for this question. And today we have a festival. It's a religious festival. We call it Eid al-Fitr. So we want to congratulate everyone. We say Eid Mubarak. So our last 30 days we go for fasting and Ramadan. Then next few days we will go for this Eid al-Fitr and this religious festival. Secondly, I just want to share some Bangladesh informations. Many important things happening in Bangladesh right now because right now our chief advisor, Nobel laureate Dr. Mohammad Yunus. I think in some point in Western world he's also very popular. He's very popular as an economist around the world. His model microfinance took everyone. On the other hand, when Trump come, many people, especially Bangladesh, affected because Trump stopped US aid. So almost 10,000 people lose their job in Bangladesh. On the other hand, just recently, I think US government provides $73 million fund for our refugee because many Myanmar peoples they live in Bangladesh. US relationship in between Bangladesh and others, it's I want to say some point is positive as Mr. Trump is trying to stop war in between Russia and Ukraine. So Bangladeshi people take it easily because our garments heavily dependent on this Europe and USA. So this is one of the things. And secondly, in terms of the many students, I think around 12 to 14,000 students, they go to USA for study purpose. And many immigrants from Bangladesh, they go to USA. So that's why some point is negative. So people has tensions and other things. On the other hand, for Bangladesh political issues, definitely USA has strong alignment for Bangladesh political issue because we have a transition period. But this is the first time I see Bangladesh people really enjoy the leadership of Dr. Mohammad Yunus. This morning time we go for prayer, and that time Dr. Mohammad Yunus provide speech for national unity and national international collaborations. I find people of Bangladesh they really enjoying uh, uh, his speech, and they want him another 5 years. Uh, Beside that, we have a impact investment conference. I think it will start from 7th April. So many large corporations from around the world they will join, including Starlink joining in Bangladesh. They are providing internet support to Bangladesh communities. Also, Bangladesh politically and economically contributing for Myanmar and many South Asian countries. Still, we have to improve more relationship with India. It's positive and negative. Uh, but overall, I want to say that uh, uh, Trump contributions in politics, I think still we have to go long way. We have to observe next six months how we can handle this complex situation. That
Yeah.
is my observation.
Yeah, sounds good and everything. Hey, Nick, I have some good news for you because I just got an email and I just wrote her. So hopefully you'll be back. I know you got a conference and a call at noon, but as you know, me and Kim went not that long ago on your dime and on the network's dime to that international
Yeah.
podcasting conference and everything like that. And while we were there, I met a young lady, Iritek Ricio Garcia, who handles Spanish podcasting and all along those lines. She lives in Miami and she just sent me an email saying she will try to join our media show. So she is the person that handles Spanish relations with the United States from the media standpoint. So I think she's with the Spanish consulate in Miami. So she should be joining our show to talk about the Spanish American relationship and her work that was there. And we met her at the conference, but I just got an email from her saying that she will try to join us at noon, and I just sent her the link that you sent me for the media show. So hopefully she'll be
Okay, yeah, I know, hopefully you can moderate that too, because I can't tell you about my schedule. I'm being torn apart in different directions the next couple hours. Yeah, Rick.
So Elon Musk is going around now showing that a chart that 8 million non-citizens have social security numbers and saying this is a scandal and it's fraud. It's really the way you do things. If you are a non-citizen and you have a right to work in this country, you have a green card, or you're married to a citizen, or you've applied for asylum and you're here legitimately, you're not tricking anybody, and you're here for a while to hear your case, or because you've got a valuable skill, you're here on an H-1B visa, you get a social security number so you can pay payroll taxes and contribute to the country. And it's not fraud, but Musk is presenting it as if it's fraud.
He's presented it as fraud. I'm hoping Sasha's still in the background because I had a interesting article that came out of the New York Times, and I know that on Tuesday and Friday he does his Ukraine-Russia show and everything. But apparently there's been a couple of articles recently about the secret history of the war in Ukraine and a partnership that exists there and everything like that. Because apparently British commandos have helped bring the CIA into the heart of the Ukraine war. So apparently there are some articles, including like from the Deccan Herald, that are saying that there is a United States secret military partnership with Ukraine, and the Ukraine has breached the U.S. trust with operations in Russia's cursed obelisk, according to an article in the New York Times and all along those lines. So Sasha, what is your take? And I'm going to bring you in on this. Has the CIA been helping the Ukraine in its brave resistance against Russia and all along those lines? Because this is an article that just came out recently over the weekend, and apparently they're saying that there is definitely more involvement than maybe we were acknowledging that has been going on for a number of years with the U.S. and some of its military wings like the CIA and stuff like that. So how much do you know about that and the training of the British commandos and other things like in that space?
Yeah, the relationship between Ukraine and CIA was evolving in the last several years. If you're talking about, for example, even if you will go back 20 years to election to 2004, 2005, then indeed CIA was trying to help Ukraine to elect at that time President Yushchenko over Russian-supported Yanukovych. Now, same thing happened in 2014, and also CIA supported Ukraine. And it's surprising when what's happening that surprising is There's some noise. So,
Yeah, that might be. Let's see. That's Nick. Keep going. That might have been Nick.
there was some problem that Yanukovych, who eventually became president in 2009, he won election on a platform that Ukraine will aspire to European Union. And when it came time to sign agreement, he backed down because Putin provided him with the $3 billion, either a loan or a credit or some kind of instrument. And people were absolutely upset, say the least, about this development. And it came up to the uprising in which Ukrainian denounced this leader. He had to flee to Russia and so on. CIA did help Ukraine at that time. However, the situation is changing now altogether because Trump, who came to power, not that his election program was to stop help to Ukraine and, in fact, coming on the side of Russia. It was not his campaign, but that's what he is implementing in his actions right now. And this is really, really bad development. I think American people, 62%, the last count, are supporting the help to Ukraine, and Trump doing anything but helping Ukraine. He is helping Russia, and I don't see whether American people gave him the mandate to help Russia.
No, they definitely didn't do that. Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, one of the other articles that would be of interest to you that I had run across, and I just wanted your thoughts around it, is apparently Germany is unlocking billions to supercharge its military, because there was a time that it was not spending as much on the military and all along those lines. So they're saying that the Trump effect is forcing Germany to reprioritize defense as the nation is playing catch up in military spending, because for a long time they were not spending as much on military. I know they were doing a lot with the road infrastructure and things along those lines, but they weren't doing as much in terms of military. But they're saying that Germany is deciding to leave its history in the past and prepare for war. So it sounds like they are one of those countries like Poland and others that are concerned that this war could expand into their area, and they're going to spend money to beef up their military. So I just wanted your thoughts on that and your thoughts around this beef up of the military throughout Europe.
Well, again, it wouldn't happen if it wouldn't be Trump's foreign policies. Because of that, now many countries, and specifically in Europe, understand that they cannot rely on US. It's not a partner, and in fact, it could turn into enemy. Because since Trump fully supports Putin's Russia, and his aim to harm Ukraine and deliver it on a plate as the capitulation to Russia, based on idea that democratic Europe is a enemy for United States, or at least Trump's United States, and the only way to destroy Western Europe is to freeze situation in Ukraine, so it would allow Russians to concentrate on their move toward the Europe, first in Baltic states, Poland, Germany, and so on. So that's Trump's plan, and that's what's going on. So Germany and other European countries are preparing to defend themselves. And what was very interesting yesterday on Fareed Zakaria show, he had interview with Alexander Dugin, who is a well-known philosopher, Russian philosopher, let's put it this way, the right way. But he is very influential, and he's one that Putin is listening to. And Zakaria asked him a question. Does Ukraine as independent state is deserving to be sovereign country? The reply was, we have to first qualify what is a sovereign country. For example, a large country, strong country like whether it's United States, China, Russia, yes, they're sovereign country and they can have their sovereignty. Now, Ukraine is a different story. It's neither big, it's neither strong. So it may have to be sovereign country as long as it conducts its policy in coordination with its large neighbor. Now, if it conducts its policies differently from its large neighbor, then it cannot be a sovereign state. It will be taken over.
Yeah. Speaking of sovereign states and everything like that, just really quickly, there is another war that is going on and been going on for a while, not as long as the Ukrainian-Russian war, but that's what's going on in Israel. And apparently Netanyahu is going to travel to Hungary despite the ICC arrest warrant. So he's supposed to be visiting that particular country to find that arrest warrant and everything and meeting Orban and everything. And they're going to be discussing Trump's Gaza plan in Hungary this week. I just wondering, should he be concerned about the possibility of being arrested by ICC, or is that one of them organizations that doesn't really have any teeth and everything along those lines? And what is your thoughts around this meeting between Orban and the leadership of Israel?
Okay, number one, I don't understand the purpose of the visit of Netanyahu to Hungary and his discussions with Orban. I don't understand that. Number two, well, if there are the logistics behind this court order, maybe one day it will be tried to be implemented. And who knows, maybe this time it will be implemented. Not that I'm saying that I will be happy if Netanyahu will be arrested in Hungary. Well, I'm just saying that, number one, I even don't understand the purpose of his trip to Hungary. So I'm completely puzzled by this development.
Hey, Rick, apparently the trip is to discuss that whole notion of the Gaza resorts and Gaza's the plans Trump has for Gaza and everything along those lines.
All right, it's senseless. It's freaking senseless. There's nobody's putting up resorts at this point. Let me bring up a different kind of story. Trump is continuing to burn the goodwill he started his presidency with. He started the presidency with 6.1% net approval. Now he's down to negative 1.5% after 10 weeks in office, the fastest decline in presidential approval in history, except for the first time Trump was president. For a president just starting his term.
Just really quickly, because we did have, because I put it on the latter part, because I don't always do it at the beginning, but we are airing it. We may eventually go to TikTok, because sometimes that's after the fact, unless Kim's doing it now and everything. But I did just put it on Instagram, and The Mind of Shaka. That is the name of the person that is watching, as well as Kate Bailey 53. So we've got some folks that are watching from Instagram. So just wanted to give them a shout out. And I did say that if they have any thoughts on the news or any questions about the World Edition, we always welcome comments from our audience as well. So I just want to give them a chance to let folks know that they are being recognized for watching and all along those lines. So we do have The Mind of Shaka.
Here's another. Trump has called himself the growth president, bringing 4% growth to America. He barely ever hit that benchmark, and the estimated first quarter GDP for his first quarter is estimated to be 0.3 or less than 1/12 of that 4% he likes to say he's bringing to America.
And by the way, Kim did say we are live on TikTok, and already we have amassed 580 likes. So there are 580 folks that are liking what's going on and all in that space. We are live on both TikTok and Instagram and Facebook.
How can TikTok people watch us? This is a long form program.
They've actually let it go longer now, so you gotta know that she's got a
don't they have
account.
attention spans of like 30 seconds, and the guy just flipped to the next one?
No,
Yeah.
but I've been on TikTok, and sometimes there's people that I was actually on a TikTok yesterday where people were engaged in a music discussion, and there were people on there for hours. The young lady said she had gotten up at 4 to start her TikTok live, and by the time I got off, and she was getting off at around the same time, it was around 8, and I joined at around 6 o'clock. So there are people that are on
Really?
TikTok
So
that are very
that's where you
engaged
have
in
more.
the conversations,
Yeah,
and
I
they're
thought,
doing.
TikTok is for ADHD people.
The
Scans of
TikTok has
30
changed
seconds
it.
or what.
That's misinformation. There are a lot of very intelligent communities out there, and we are live right now. I ran us live for 3 hours the other evening, and I ran all of Rick broadcasting. And that was a couple of hours worth, and I ran it straight through live. I think sometimes they come in and they go, "Oh, we're going to limit you for a little bit," but then you build back up. And but I ran all of his shows. I think it was almost 2 hours worth. So yeah.
Yeah, we're on
Well,
TikTok.
they can ask questions if they know how to use this goofy thing that's right next to me.
Yeah, just scan the code and you can text.
Oh, it disappeared.
You
Yeah,
can
they
text
can-
us live.
They can text and do
Here's-
stuff like that. I did have a question for because he's here with us and everything, for Dr. Sharif and all along those lines. And it kind of comes back to something we've been talking about on this network for a while. How concerned are you, Dr. Sharif, about plane safety and just the safety of our infrastructure, in particular our transportation infrastructure? Because I know y'all are a smaller country, so when y'all are flying, are y'all concerned about the safety of the flight? Because I did mention that another plane, I think, had a crash, or a spaceship in Germany, or coming from Germany, and then we had that plane crash that had the bank executive on it and everything like that. But how concerned are you about travel by plane and train, and even the roads in Bangladesh, Thailand, and Myanmar, and those areas that you have knowledge of?
We can't hear
You're on
Dr.
mute.
Sharif.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Here you are.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, this is an interesting question because in USA, I'm working with the San Jose State University. They have a research lab. It's called Spartan Superway. So I'm contributing for their research and innovations related projects. And Spartan Superway is a transportation project. Is run by Solar, and it's very advanced research happening in California. But interestingly, it's deploying in Gujarat, in India, not in USA, because USA has a lot of law, rules, and regulations, a lot of complexity. That's why this Spartan Superway from San Jose State University, they cannot deploy it. But successfully, they are developing this construction in Gujarat. Tomorrow I am visiting my place where I grow. It's called Rajbari, a very small place. And we have a big river. It's called Padma. It's come from Himalayas, one of the largest things. We are also planning to develop a feasibility study how this American technology, let's say this is Spartan Superway, we can deploy it in Bangladesh. That is the thing. You will be impressed, honestly speaking, how I see at least California and other part. If you see the Asia Pacific part is very advanced in terms of infrastructure. If you go for the transportation and other things, if you see this China Belt and Road Initiative from China, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, even Bangladesh, Pakistan, because of China's heavily investment in infrastructures, we have a massive improvement. Even we have Padma Breeze. This is another largest initiative. I think it's a $3.5 billion project. The previous government launched it. It's a 6.2 kilometers breeze in Bangladesh. So our railway, our aviation industries, and our train and transportation is honestly speaking, it's very advanced. It's really advanced. Even you focus on Asia Pacific, and honestly speaking, even China doing excellent job in this country. They're doing excellent job. So on the other hand, where all of the innovation happening in California, the government do not support, or the venture capital do not support, or the corporation do not support. On the other hand, China took this technology, they take this challenge and they deploy it in Bangladesh or in India. Maybe this is another reason Asia Pacific has a lot of populations. Uh, because of population, everybody has to use the transportation, this and that, many things. Another major players in Bangladesh and this Asia Pacific is JICA, Japan. Japan is very good at transportation and these industries. Uh, when I was in USA transportations, you have Tesla and all of the big companies and many more things. Uh, but still, Asia Pacific doing excellent job in terms of infrastructure developments, and it's much more advanced than I'm sorry, it's maybe California and Canada. This is very advanced. So I think, honestly speaking, USA has to improve. Europe has to improve a lot.
You have high-speed trains over there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. USA
Yeah.
has low-speed trains. Did you know that? You don't take our trains over here because our trains go click to click to click.
When I go to Stanford from San Jose, I use this train. It's okay. It's okay. But because
some of them have good metro lines, but a lot of them between cities, they just don't have a lot of high-speed rail over here.
And high speed is oftentimes fought for and everything like that. I think Rick had a question. And by the way, Nintendo 64 is joined us from Instagram. So if he's got any thoughts around,
here's I have a story out of France. So the leading far-right candidate, Marine Le Pen, has done quite well in French elections, leading the far right, has been convicted of embezzling campaign funds and barred from running for anything for 5 years and sentenced to prison for 4 years. So other countries, can actually impose penalties on convicted candidates.
Yeah, they can definitely do that. And I was wondering,
hard time to do it.
Yeah, we don't do that. We elect
that could happen here. And I had a question for Nick along those same lines, because apparently he is very serious. He's been floating it a couple of times. Is there any danger that we are going to have Trump run for a third term? Because he's talking about it. He's floated this idea again out this weekend of him running, even though constitutionally he cannot.
I like it. I personally hope he spends a lot of time and energy on it. It's prohibited by the 22nd Amendment. Also,
what Rick said, that's the problem. Is the thing is you have to go through a constitutional convention to get a law changed to even consider that as an option. So
we don't have a constitution anymore. They deleted it from the White House.
Also, Trump would be.
There is no more constitution. You have a king.
Trump was.
I give it about a 1 to 2% chance of happening. 1 to 2%.
Welcome to the.
Trump would be 82 years old when he starts his term, 86 when he finishes his term.
Yeah, that's another problem. I mean, the guy's going to be senile by the time he considers running for office.
He's already senile.
It's like 2% chance or later. But what really is a problem is how both these parties, the Democrats and Republicans, do not develop their young people. I mean, the old guys get into the office, they sit there and they suck up all the power, they suck up all the wind, and they destroy all the young bucks that come by. And so what you have is what they call in the insurance industry adverse selection. You've got a bunch of really very, very poor people that are in Congress and the Senate with very little visibility, and they have no ability to innovate because their parties will squash them if they say anything against the party line. So
Nick, how would you make the political landscape more like the NCAA? I mean, we've got a player here in Durham, Cooper Flagg, who will probably leave after either winning or coming close to winning the championship if he doesn't win the championship after being in there for 1 year. And, in sports, there's NIL, the portal, and there are a number of other ways that they are developing young talent and young millionaires. So how would you what would you take from the sports world into the political world to make it a more effective way to bring in the young voices?
Oh, you got to get rid of these parties. I mean, the thing is, these parties are left over from the party thug mentality that existed in the turn of the other century. And so what you have is basically two groups of thugs, one called the Republicans, the other called the Democrats. So with these thugs and these party bosses that you have that are left over from the turn of the century, it will be when the young people get on, people like Dr. Sharif, when they start getting into politics and they don't have this thug party mentality, they're independent thinkers, then you'll see change finally that takes place in this country. But until then, you have a really dysfunctional government, and it's led by two dysfunctional parties.
Dr. Sharif,
I don't see anything happening in the next 5 to 10 years that will change that unless young people start getting more involved and you start developing more young talent. And these old buffaloes, they don't want the young people in there. You go from McCarthy all the way down, they're just not interested. So they tend to they tend to stifle and destroy all forms of innovation in Washington, D.C. So as we used to say, Washington, D.C. is a place where good ideas get buried. But maybe Sharif is very
Sharif, you got
diplomatic.
any ideas? You work with young people all the time. So what are your thoughts around how we can get them more engaged?
Yeah, I think last 5 years we know each other, right? This Spot TV and this talent.
Our previous IBM TV and IBM did the same. Buffalo us. People don't know where IBM TV until what they did is they quashed us like a bug in the European Union. So buy IBM TV and now we're Pod TV. Go on, Sharif.
Yeah. So things is that from the day one, I'm always discussing the power of youth, the talent economy, the youth wisdom. I always discuss these things, and maybe it's a TV discussion. It's theoreticals, but you see, it's practically happen in Bangladesh. Youth people says enough is enough. We do not want corruption in our politics. We do not want any kind of negative things in our policy. We want to remove all of the corruptions and all of the things. And it's very big things, like almost 1,800 youth people lose their life in Bangladesh. Then this new government come and they choose Dr. Muhammad Yunus as our political head or our country head. Why? Because he is knowledgeable, he has Western mindset, he is open-minded, he is creative and innovative. And today in the Eid day, it's a Eid festival, I see thousand people. They are celebrating in Bangladesh. They are enjoying in Bangladesh. They say, this is the country we are looking for. We want to own our country. And several times I request Kimberly, Nick, and all of the speakers of the Spot TV, why don't you join in the politics? Because politics is so powerful. You cannot ignore it. And USA have a lot of quality people like you, like Nick, like Kimberly. Go and engage with these things. And like Dr. Muhammad Yunus, why always you are just shouting why Trump do not do these things, why Trump do not do that thing? It's not, honestly speaking, not practical. Maybe you can learn from Bangladeshi youth. They take the challenge, they took the responsibility, and they said, I want to save my country. This is my country. Enough is enough. I cannot do any kind of corruption, any kind of destruction, and many things. That is the learning. That is we can learn from each other. And you see, my world talent is successful because I feel 5 years before the talent economy ultimately the future for emerging economy. We have a lot of talent, it's underutilized. So again, I request the brilliant people like Nick, like Kimberly, even all of the today's speaker, join in politics. Engage with the people. Engage with the activities. Try to do something which what never happened in USA, right? This is globals. Well, people can know each other. We can work for each other, and that's why I fully focus right now with the wisdom. We are developing the wisdom. Definitely, we are partnering with some of the high quality tech company from Silicon Valley, from Stanford, from Bangladesh, from India, from Japan. All of the brilliant people we are bringing together. What we call Kokoro, Wisdom App. And we want to develop next level leaders with the help of USA, with the help of Japan, with the help of Europe. And we can create a brilliant peoples. And what you have, this is extremely valuable for politics and social development. So
Yeah.
I think
Well, Sharif, even TikTok is, Kim says we're beaming on TikTok, and TikTok is actually sort of a startup over here. And the first thing that happens is people want to quash it, but the people that are watching it are young people. So why do we continually quash young people here? I don't know. And who has all the money? I asked Rick Rosner. Who has all the money, the young people or the old people, Rick?
94% of the privately held wealth in the United States is held by people 45 years old and over. The boomers have all the money. If you're lucky, and you're Gen X, you're an older Gen Xer, you might have a little money. People under 40, poor as shit.
Now that is a damning statistic. And the thing is, in the United States, we have trillions of dollars. But what Rick just said is something important enough that I'm going to put it up here. 94% of people over age 45 have all the money in the United States. So here's the problem. If you're under 45 and you're listening to this from TikTok, odds are you're busted. Okay, period, the end. If you're over 45 and you're in that age group, 45, 65, 75, 85, you're loaded. So, it's almost like we live in two different worlds. One,
plus there's going to be a growing problem. One of the greatest means of wealth transfer is old people dying.
It's true.
AI leading to huge improvements in medicine, lifespans are going to go up. Now, lifespans went down over the past few years because of COVID and opioids, but when AI kicks in, lifespans are going to go into the 80s, into the 90s. Those people are going to continue to live on and continue to have all the freaking money.
Yeah.
Well, I just recently met with a 92-year-old. One of my best friends, her father, we just celebrated his.
I'm already over there.
They're all healthy. They're all very, very healthy.
Well, nobody wants old people to die, but it leads to economic consequences. Also, old people, a lot of them start losing their mental sharpness. So if medicine lets old people live another 5-10 years, but their brains are crappy, they're subject to being manipulated politically.
We used to say when I was in estate planning that wealth is trapped. Wealth is trapped in older generations waiting to croak. And that's kind of the reality even today. But with that, we have David Walker. So Kim, you or Mark can start that.
I'm going to go start, David. I'm going to beam out. Everyone have a good one and wrap up.
We're going to get good going because we have the Honorable David M. Walker showing up next, the former Comptroller General of the United States of America, who's going to be showing us, is America in trouble? And we'll see you next tomorrow on World Edition. Bye-bye.